Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So the other day I made a video about the UK grooming gangs. And this, I believe, is one of the West's greatest scandals to ever happen. The UK government hid and tried not just to hide it, but to cover up the horrific and barbaric things that the Muslim men were doing to UK girls. The police also covered up the barbaric and evil things that these men were doing to the likes of young girls. The media were also complicit in the matter too. They didn't want to report on this at all. No one had the courage to even speak up about it, and if they did, they were silenced or ignored. The girls couldn't even go to the police because the police would send them away and say, "No, shut up. Don't say anything to us about this. We're not going to help you." The mainstream media, any journalist that even tried to get close to this was either fired, let loose from their position, placed on administrative leave, whatever it was. They weren't allowed to say anything. And if it wasn't for Elon Musk, or if it wasn't for journalists that had a backbone, had a spine, and did the right thing and stuck up and kept going, no one would know about it. And the reason why this is the greatest cover up in not just UK history, but this stuff is also happening in Australia, I'll have you know, and around the world, trafficking is going on. And this platform is censoring and getting rid of any content related to this subject matter. And gee, why is that? There should be more outrage. There should be more people that are in one voice. Hundreds of thousands of young girls were brutally R-worded by these filthy, despicable individuals. I'm not even going to call them human. And anyone that dared speak up about it was silenced, ignored, or worse. That's what's happened to Tommy Robinson at the moment. If you weren't already aware, him exposing these grooming gangs because he saw it happen. He grew up in Luton. He saw this firsthand, and he dared to speak up about it. And people are saying, no, he's in prison at the moment for contempt of court. How? Contempt of court, 18 months in prison. Meanwhile, you have actual R-wordists out on the streets that have been to court and sent free. Meanwhile, Tommy Robinson is in solitary confinement. It's absurd. Then you have journalists that I really respect, like Douglas Murray, who wrote about this, believe it or not, in 2017 in his book, The Strange Death of Europe. But not many people picked up on it, I'll have you know. The other day, Douglas Murray put this up from his book, In the Strange Death of Europe. And there's a lot. You had Sikh men, you had Hindus trying to protect these girls. But once again, these Muslim gangs were far reaching. These Sikh men tried to do the right thing. They tried to help, but to no avail. Nobody was listening. The UK government, the corruption runs deep. This is also like in the Tories as well, under Rishi Sunak's leadership and even further back. Countless people in positions of power know about this, but they still choose to do nothing. Why is that? Could it be out of fear? I'm still trying to work it out myself. But you have loads of people that are piling on Tommy Robinson at the moment. Except Douglas Murray has come in and defended him. Finally, properly. And the way Douglas Murray speaks and defends people like Tommy, it's brilliant because he's also saying, yes, Tommy Robinson has done a lot. He grew up in Luton. He's seen this firsthand. He's doing incredible things, but there's also things that he has said and even done, his tactics. You can argue that they're negative. but he still shouldn't be in prison. Have a watch of this.
And when I see people now talking about this story and trying to get onto the Tommy Robinson part of it, I can't help thinking it's yet another deflection. Tommy Robinson is a man from a working class background in Luton. There are many things to be said in favor of him and what he's done. There's many things to be said criticizing some of his tactics and some of his words and much more. But essentially, he is one of a quite large number, actually, not to be underestimated, a large number of working class people in this country who saw this happen to relatives of theirs, who had girls in their families who were drugged and by Muslim gangs. And when they went to the police, they didn't get any help. When they went to the council, they didn't get any help. When they went to their MPs, generally they didn't get any help. If they organised a protest movement, so-called anti-fascist groups would immediately say, far right, because of course, if you're working class in our country and you don't like the mass of young white girls, you're of course necessarily must be a Nazi. All of this was done to make it utterly impossible for anybody to discuss this, and particularly to crack down as hard as possible on anyone who was white and working class and felt voiceless. And instead of giving these people any sympathy or any hearing, most of the media, most of the political class turned away. And I'm afraid what we've been seeing in recent days is one perfectly predictable repercussion of that. You can keep a scandal this big down for only so long. And of course, there are Labour MPs and others at the moment who are saying, but don't you know we've had lots of inquiries into this? Don't you know lots of people have gone to jail? And there is some truth in that. First of all, the inquiries meant very little in the end. They did very little to sort out this problem. Secondly, the number of accusations of the number of girls in all of these towns who say they've been means that the proportion of men who have actually been convicted, often already released, but convicted and went to prison, can only be a fraction of the number of people who actually took part in this obscene sexual crime. And so this sort of idea of like, it's okay, guys, we've got it. It's total bunk. And, you know, I think that part of the thing we've seen in recent days is very reminiscent, and I've written about this again in the past, it's very reminiscent of something that Britain is astonishingly good at, which is avoiding primary problems by trying to highlight people who, as it were, who mention the problem or mention the problem in an inadequate way or in a way that isn't to everyone's taste or more, and then everyone talks about them, and it's horribly reminiscent of the way in which you'll remember that for about some 40 years or so, it was said in Britain that we couldn't discuss mass immigration, legal or illegal, in Britain, because Enoch Powell gave one speech in 1968. And actually all it was a terrific way for the political class and others to avoid talking about mass migration. They say, you know, Enoch made it impossible. And it's awfully reminiscent, this. People saying, Tommy Robinson made it impossible. That's absolute nonsense. If you have a courageous media, if you have just independent-minded people, if you have councillors who know how to do their darn job, and policemen who are not, as the reports and commissions found out, incredibly scared of being accused of institutional racism, which of course has been hanging over the police force for some 40 years now, 30 years certainly. If all these people have been doing their jobs, it wouldn't matter what Tommy Robinson had or had not said. All of this is a deflection. It's always this way. Let's leap at one of the people who has responded to this and say they did it wrong, and then we can keep on not addressing the question. And I think this is a uniquely British vice.
What Douglas Murray said towards the end there was 100% accurate. The UK government could have done something. The police could have done something, but they're too scared. Too scared of what? Exactly. They're too scared of being called racist. And Tommy Robinson's only fault is the fact that he's white and the fact that the mainstream media accuse him of racism because he's talking about something that every single other person in the UK that is a citizen of the UK is concerned about. Tommy Robinson brought it up. Any person that dared bring it up, once again, was silenced, ridiculed, or done away with. The UK government, these politicians, they only do so much. They go, we've done something. like Douglas said, we've done the inquiries, which pretty much mean nothing. We have arrested people, some truth in that, but we haven't really done much at all. In the grand scheme of things, we haven't done much. We've picked a couple of people that we think are the worst of the worst, and we put them away. So we want to show the public that we're on to this, but there are still thousands of them out there that are getting away with it. What about all the politicians that hit it? What about all the media people that continue to hide and continue to lie about it? They're more than happy to throw someone like Tommy Robinson in jail because they think that nothing's going to happen if we throw someone like Tommy Robinson in jail. But one thing they forgot to realize is they're making a martyr out of him. You've seen what's been taking place on X? Douglas Murray pointed it out. It wouldn't have mattered really what Tommy Robinson did or didn't say. Someone was going to say it eventually. They knew that. You can only hide this for so long, as Douglas pointed out, before eventually it gets to the point where you got enough people voicing their concern. I wish I could show you all the pages in The Strange Death of Europe, but I would just encourage people to go and read the book. It's a great book. And listen to any interview that Douglas Murray has done. There's like, to be honest with you, I didn't know just how deep or how big this story goes. And I've heard in the past, I've heard people sort of gloss over it, sort of talk about it, but I never spoke about it. I just thought, it's been and done. It's still going on. I know this stuff goes on, right? Didn't know that it was this bad. It's bad. It's really bad. And when you've got the corruption getting to where I've seen it, not just here in Australia, but in the UK, it concerns me. Because you don't have freedom anymore to say what you need to say. That's dangerous, especially in the West. Corruption needs to be stamped out, and people need to be made accountable for their actions. Otherwise, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And thank God for people like Tommy and Douglas Murray. In a world of Piers Morgans and Nigel Farages, be Douglas Murray. Thank you all so much for watching. You guys take care. Be blessed. And I'll see you all in the next video.